Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Hong Kong, and this is yet another of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip over there. This is one of the ones that I picked up in HK Brewcraft. I went there a second time when I was passing through Hong Kong again to head home, and this is a brewery you've seen me review before as well, but we're going to go to the opposite end of the beer spectrum this time. So we're going to do my second review from the Yardley Brothers Brewery, and this one is the Seize the Means, which they're describing as a chocolate fudge stout. It comes in at 6.5% and it's supposed to be pretty good actually. The guys in HK Brewcraft said that this is really quite a nice sweet stout. The last beer that I reviewed from these guys was their Hong Kong Bastard Double IPA, which was quite nice, quite a medicinal and oily IPA from what I remember, so looking forward to trying something at the other end of the spectrum. As I've always said, if you're trying a craft brewer, you really want to try like a stout and an IPA, something at opposite ends of the spectrum, to get a kind of good broad idea of what they're all about. But really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Yardley Brothers before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future. I'm sure I'll go back to Hong Kong at some point fairly soon. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Hong Kong beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Yardley Brothers then. So Yardley Brothers Brewery was founded by Luke and Duncan Yardley, and these brothers are Scottish, and Luke had previously worked as a parts wholesaler, and he ended up staying in Hong Kong after he met a girl, and that didn't quite work out, but he later met another one who he married a bit later on. So he and Duncan had homebrewed at home back in Scotland, and then they took it up again when Duncan joined Luke in Hong Kong back in 2014, which was around the time that Hong Kong was starting to liberalise their alcohol laws, if you like. But the main reason for them starting to homebrew was because they couldn't get the types of beer that they wanted to drink. So their first brewery was on Llama Island, but in December 2016 they opened a production brewery on the 5th floor of an industrial building where rent was cheaper, simply because of how expensive rent is, both for, you know, home properties and also for commercial properties. The rent in Hong Kong is absolutely ridiculous. But apparently when they moved in, the tanks wouldn't fit in the lift, so 8 people had to actually help them carry all these tanks up the stairs. They're still at this brewery, thankfully. They haven't had to move those tanks out, and it can be found in the Kwai Chung area at the Untappd Industrial Centre. They've also got their beer shack out on Llama Island as well, and you can go out there. I believe that it's only open like Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday if I remember correctly, because I was going to go out there and it was closed. So before you go out to Llama Island, which is beautiful by the way, do make sure you check the dates if you're wanting to go here. But they offer brewery tours at the things as well, at the home brewery as well, so they'll take you around in their building in the Wata Industrial Estate, and they do have a little tap room there as well. But Luke brews the beer along with Joseph Gauthier, who is American from Michigan, and I think, you know, he's always creating new recipes and stuff like this. According to Untappd, as of June 2019 they've produced 28 different types of beers. There's a lot of different styles in there as well, and one of those is a freeze distilled IPA which is called the Beast, and this is apparently the strongest alcohol by volume beer brewed in Asia at the moment. So that's one that I'll need to keep an eye out for, and hopefully I can review it for you on the channel at some point fairly soon. It would be cool to actually go to the brewery, and I'll maybe see if I can do that the next time I'm out in Hong Kong. But yeah, a really cool brewery this one. Cool to find a brewery in Hong Kong that has a bit of a Scottish connection as well. I enjoyed the last beer I had from them, and hopefully again this is another good one. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at the Yardley Brothers Brewery. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer now and see how we get on. So there you can see the artwork on this one is kind of quite interesting. Obviously a reference to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with the crazy Oompa Loompas. Seize the Means, Seize the Mean People, I guess this one. But yeah, you can see this beer is best before the 12th of November 2019. Coming in at 6.5%, like I say, some lovely artwork on this one. It says on the side here the ingredients in this are hops, barley, yeast and water, you know, and you've also got a few adjuncts in there, cacao, lactose and vanilla, and the ABV is 6.5%. So yeah, I'll need to see if I can get the label off this one and keep it, because I think it is pretty good. So yeah, the Yardley Brothers bottle cap of this one, of course, is a nice big middle finger, so quite funny. I'm not sure what the idea behind that is, but yeah, kind of cool. But let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. As I told you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% sweet stout. So we'll get it out and into the glass. Like I said, the last beer that I tried from these guys was the Hong Kong Bastard, and that was a really nice kind of that was a really nice sort of oily double IPA, that one. It almost had a little bit of a kind of medicinal quality to it, but like I said, for Scottish people, alcohol generally is quite medicinal. There's not much of a head kind of coming out on this one. There's just a very thin foamy layer. It's kind of a sort of beigey fawn colour. If I hold this beer up to the light, it's actually got quite a Coca-Cola coloured edge to it, but overall I think it's fair to describe the beer as being kind of rosewood and ebony coloured, if you like. Definitely a rosewood ebony colour with a very, very thin head on this one. You can see there's actually a good little bit of sediment or something sticking to the side of the glass in this one, so I don't know if that's from the adjuncts or exactly what it is, but yeah, interesting looking, I have to say. One of the other things I pointed out in my last review from this brewery actually was, if you look very closely at their bottles, they've actually got this matte black thing around the edge of it. The bottle itself, if you look through the top, is brown, but I've never seen a brewery put these matte black things on it, which could actually be quite a good idea, to be honest with you, because of the, you know, to keep the light out of their beer actually. So something I've never seen before until I came across the Yardley Brothers Brewery. I never pointed this out either actually, that the Y is the symbol of the Yardley Brothers Brewery. But yeah, it looks really nice, this one. You know, it's kind of what you would expect in terms of its appearance for a sweet stout. So let's take a look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. As I say, I was a bit surprised there wasn't more of a head on this beer. Oh. Now, what I'll say about this one, for a stout that's supposed to be a chocolate fudge stout, the aroma of this one is actually very, very toasted. And you know, when it comes, for me, my sort of pinnacle sweet stout, if you like, was Riptide from Brewdog. I always used to absolutely adore that beer. Though you don't see it very often anymore, right enough. But Riptide was always one of my favourites. And to me, this beer definitely comes across as almost being more of a coffee stout, actually. It definitely has a little bit of that kind of coffee smoothness to it. It's not quite sweet enough to be coffee beans right enough, but you definitely get a good bit from the roasty, toasty side of this beer. You can smell some vanilla notes in there. There's a little bit of a woody quality to it as well. Overall though, there's a bit of chocolate, but you're not getting much chocolate out of this one. It's meant to be a chocolate fudge stout, and in honesty, in the aroma, I'm not getting much in the way of brown sugar or black malt, to be honest with you. That's kind of surprising. Yeah, it's more of a, this is definitely more of a roasty toasty stout, this one. It smells, it's got a little bit of a wet and kind of light aroma to it, if that makes sense too. So definitely some black malt in there. It has a little bit of a roasty kind of coffee, it definitely has a little bit of that almost coffee bean smoothness. A little bit of the vanilla's coming out, not much in the way of the brown sugars or the chocolate showing for me. There's a little bit of earthy hop in there. There's a little bit of a grassy side to it as well, which is kind of interesting. To me, this one, it's not quite as big and thick and sweet as I was expecting from the aroma, but hopefully that shows up in the actual flavour of the beer, because it really doesn't smell like a sweet stout, to be honest. Yeah. So, on the fruity side of things then, to me, it's got a little bit of a kind of black curranty, blackberry type thing. There's a little bit of a figgy note to it as well. There's a teensy little bit of like a sharper raisiny plum in the beginning when you take it in quite deeply, but mainly it's just a light sort of candied fruity ester that's coming out of this one. Yeah. The aroma of this is not what I was expecting, but hopefully it kind of shows its true colours in the flavour, but as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. This one for me is a very mild aroma though. It's definitely got a really toasty brown quality to it. It almost smells a little bit like burnt toast in some ways, and I'm quite familiar with that because my dad loves his toast black, not just a nice little bit of brown, black. So I'm very familiar with that. This beer does smell a little bit like burnt toast, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Seize the Means Chocolate Fudge Stout at 6.5% from Yardley Brothers Brewing in Hong Kong. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, Skål, Gambi. Yeah, it's definitely a lot sweeter on the. It's definitely a lot sweeter on the palate than it is in the aroma, actually. So that's quite unusual. That the other thing I'm noticing about this beer is that it is very light in the mouthfeel. Now I'm wondering if that's just because of the sheer humidity that you have in Hong Kong, and I've noticed that with stouts from countries that are warmer. And, I've said this about Japanese beer before, and I think I said the same about some of the Korean ones and the other Hong Kong beers too. Pardon me. When it comes to dark styles of beer, in these kind of Asian countries, beer is viewed as something to be sessionable and drinkable, if you like. So they like their beers to have a bit of a lighter mouthfeel and a bit of a carbonation. And I do wonder if that's what they've kind of gone here. The stout that this reminds me of a little bit, actually, is Dragon Stout, which, if I remember correctly, was from Jamaica. It really reminds me of that Jamaican stout that I reviewed a good few years ago. Yeah, that is actually quite a nice beer, this one. What I would say about it is, though, like I said, the mouthfeel is very light. The sweetness really comes out in the aftertaste for me. This is a really unusual one. It's this is one of these ones that would kind of pique your interest, if you like, as a it really would kind of pique your interest as a if you want something a little bit out there and a little bit unusual. So for me, very, very roasty in its aroma, and it does have a little bit of that roasty toasty base, but then it starts to become a little bit sweeter later on. So let's try and break the flavour of this one down just a little bit then. So in the middle of your palate you can detect a nice little bit of a roasty black malt quality. On top of that you've got a little bit of an almost well-fired bread crusting, which just smooths out the middle of your palate a little bit, which is interesting. In the very centre of your palate you can get some of these nice, more oily brown sugary qualities out of the beer. The chocolate is just kind of it's almost like the chocolate and bready qualities are infused together. It's almost like a chocolate croissant or something like that, the way that the malt flavours go together in this one. And the vanilla flavours, incidentally, they're coming out a little bit further forward. You notice them a bit more in the aftertaste, I think. The vanilla flavours come out a little bit more further forward on the palate too. So it's a really interesting combination of things, this. And it's interesting the transition that this beer makes as well, because you drink it and you get the roasty base, and then it's almost just like a sort of, the liquid rolls off your tongue, and then when the aftertaste comes out, that's when you start to get the sweeter aspects of this beer, that chocolatey croissant thing I was talking about, the vanilla and the brown sugars as well. I think it's the vanilla flavour in this one that's giving you the impression of fudge rather than it being, straight up like the brown sugars. The other, I remember that Brewery, they had a beautiful chocolate fudge stout, and it's one of the best sweet stouts I've had as well. That's one of the other beers I'd recommend if you like this sweet style. Probably the two best beers that I've had outside of the Omnipollo ones, because they've got flavour essence and stuff added to them. Two of the best sweet stout beers that you'll come across, I think, are Riptide from Brewdog and Brewery K's chocolate fudge stout. That's a beautiful beer. But for me, this one this one for me is all about the aftertaste. I really like how the aftertaste comes together in this beer. You can actually see there is a good little bit of sediment just floating around in the top of this beer, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I like how that goes together. I mean, it does have a little bit of that old, It does have a little bit of that kind of English and Irish stout quality to it, which is nice, but it definitely has a bit of the American sweetness. So this beer, in some ways, it's a little bit old school, but it's a little bit like a modern craft beer as well, which is nice. So it's an interesting one, this. I mean, if you like the style and you want something that's a little bit lighter and a little bit more sessionable, then I think this is one that's going to tick the boxes for you. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a little touch of earthiness there. To be honest with you, with the flavours that are in this beer, I wouldn't be overly surprised if they've used a little bit of Williamette in here. I really wouldn't. As you come further forward on the side of the palate there, you've got a little bit of there is a little touch of a herbal quality there, but as you get towards the very front corners of the palate, it's a bit more floral, and then around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. But behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. For me, initially, when you take the beer in, there is a little touch of a raisiny or plummy sharpness to the beer, but then it smooths out very nicely and it really starts to lean towards having a kind of juicy, figgy quality, but it's blackcurrants and blackberries for me. I'm pretty sure that they've used a bit of Williamette in here. I really would not be surprised. There's maybe an English hop in there to give you a little bit more of an earthy quality, but I think it's I think there's a little bit of I definitely think there's a little bit of Williamette in here, so I'd be curious to know about that actually. But to me, this is a really interesting stout overall, definitely lighter in its mouthfeel than you would normally expect for sweet stouts, and I would be curious to know if the main reason for that is just because it is brewed in Hong Kong, which is humid as hell, to be honest with you. It's a very, very humid place, that. But yeah, I do like how everything goes together in this one. It really is quite nice. On the mouthfeel side of things then, like I said, this is quite a light-bodied beer. It's at the top end of light-bodied, I would say. Carbonation is still quite smooth in it though. It does have a little bit of a prickle. The mouthfeel overall for me has a little touch of oiliness to it, but mainly a wet mouthfeel. Little touch of hoppy bitterness, like I said, maybe 30 IBUs, 40, something like that at a push. The malt base has a roasty quality to it, but then it sweetens up the further you go into the aftertaste as well, and there's a nice little bit of sharpness to the fruity side of the beer initially, but then it just smooths out and becomes that little bit lighter and juicy. But overall, a really nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to have a taste of this one for you here on the channel. It's cool to try something from the other end of the spectrum from Yardley Brothers. So I look forward to trying some of their other beers as well, and hopefully I can review the Beast for you at some point too. It'd be cool to go and visit the brewery and do like an interview with them or something like that. It's always cool to encounter new craft beer scenes, of course. But let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Seas the Means, a chocolate fudge stout at 6.5% from Yardley Brothers Brewery in Hong Kong. Cool to review this one for you, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on it. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Yardley Brothers as well. Do give me some other Hong Kong brewery recommendations as well, and I'll see if I can get a hold of those for you the next time I head out there. But thank you again for watching. Make sure you go and check out HK Brewcraft if you're over there as well, and I'll see you soon with more Hong Kong beers. Slàinte, Skull, Gambé, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Yardley Brothers Brewery. Slàinte, Skull, Gambé.